One person in. I'm going to get some water in a second, and then be some more OpenBSD. Over. Whoa, 5 people. Where did that come from? Suddenly jumped to 5 people. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to get some water. Oh, it's warm today. Should wear all these jumpers. I don't know. Weather's all over the place, like my flickering camera. Right, back in a second. How is everyone? Silent treatment, eh? 6 people. What was it? Was it something I put in the description that brought in 6 people? All right, let's get Virt Manager ready. Get the virtual machine ready. Eight people. What's going on? 12 people. Wow. Really want to see this OpenBSD, huh? 12 people. It's like the number of views I get on one of my videos. This is crazy. 12 people. What Linux distro do you use? I use Artix Linux, and gone down to 7 people now, random. I use Artix Linux and Arch Linux. So I'm streaming from Arch Linux at the moment because I have a testing computer that runs Arch, and my main computer runs Artix, which is of course just Arch Linux without systemd. Just runs run it, and that's just faster than systemd. But I have no problem with systemd. I just have it for speed. D in it. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I never really played around too much with like OpenRC or D in it, or what's the other thing, S6 or something. But yeah, run it's pretty quick. Run it's just really a load of shell scripts, isn't it? Start services or whatever. I don't know. Can't remember. It's so weird. Why do I like go between 7 and 12 people in the stream suddenly? No. Yes, I probably won't spend too much time before I go into OpenBSD configuration. So what I need to do today is I need to set up the X server with XenoDM or XenoDM and stuff like that. So I'll wait a bit longer. But in the meantime, ask any Linux or OpenBSD or whatever you want to ask. Debian. Okay, cool. I've never actually heard anyone use Debian. So obviously that's like Debian without systemd. No system configuration at all. Good stuff. That's the thing. I'm very much a defaults person, so I don't. It's not to say I don't configure. Obviously, if you see my videos, I do configuration, but I do. I don't want to deviate too much from the defaults. I like it kind of clean and ubiquitous over my computers, if that makes sense. "19 people. Wow, I don't even. So random. Okay. Yeah, so those handful of people have just. Why have I gone down to 7 again? That's weird. I was going to say to all those people joined, if you've got any Linux questions or we want to talk Linux or OpenBSD before I start my video on setting up XenoDM, which is just XOR basically. Well, no, XenoDM is the, what would you call it? It's the login manager or the display manager that OpenBSD has for security. So you don't just start X in the normal sense. So I think so anyway. Anyway, I'm going to get the OpenBSD documentation up. Do I recommend Gentoo? Okay, so how to put it? I'm not against it, but I'm very much one of these people who, if you're going to run Gentoo or Gentoo, I don't see the point in using it if you're not going to compile everything. So, for example, I get the impression a lot of people who use Gentoo don't compile, say, the kernel, or they don't compile their web browser. And I understand why, because it's going to take a long time. However, that's really the point of Gentoo. You want to compile everything. Maybe you want to change flags on what's compiled, on what your binary is going to be, all this kind of stuff. You want user control, and presumably over everything, and you want user control over you want to inspect maybe the source code. Now, that's not to say that there aren't times where, you know, you want to have the binaries for your kernel. I understand that. But again, I just don't, I don't know, I wouldn't go like half into Gentoo, so to speak. I wouldn't like half run it, if that makes sense. It's a bit like Arch Linux in the other way. So I'm not a big advocate on Arch Linux for compiling important things such as your window manager, let's say. I want my window manager to be in the main repositories. That's why I don't use DWM. DWM is great, but I think it's good practice to have it in your main repository. And by definition, DWM shouldn't be a binary. You should compile it. Now, I know it only takes a few seconds and all this kind of thing, but for me, that's not how I want to run Arch. It's kind of a personal preference anyway. So I hope that explains kind of where I'm coming from there. Nameless Monster. Hello, James. Greetings from India. Do you like suckless software? Hello, Nameless Monster. Well, I kind of answered it in my previous point, which is I think like DWM is great, which is obviously suckless. ST terminals, a similar thing. Great. I've used both of these. However, if I'm running, say, Arch, I want to have my main repository handle important things like my terminal, my web browser, my window manager. I don't want to have to compile things. I hope that makes sense. So I like it. They're great. They have a very specific mission in what they do. It's just that the way I use my computer for package management, let's say, just a personal preference is I want to have the binary and I want it handled through the package manager, because obviously the binaries are tested or whatever. I'm not against it. I like suckless. I just personally, I have a preference. So preposterous potato. I love compiling software. I use Gentoo, by the way. Well, there you go. This is the thing. I mean, my word isn't gospel. It's just preference. Gentoo is fantastic. It's just not where I'm sort of coming from. That makes sense. Of course, there are situations where you have to compile software. So, for example, I'll give you an example. Okay, so on my main machine, I don't use the basically I've been playing around with tricking Intel ME, and so I don't use the onboard Wi-Fi card. I actually use this here. This is a Think Penguin USB. Okay. Now with Think Penguin USB, it's Libra software. Okay, and there's no binary in the. Well, there is a binary there. You can get the Libra software drivers, right? So is it like Linux firmware? So, you know, you've got your standard Linux firmware package. On, say, the Libra side, you've got the Libra driver software. Okay, it's like a huge bundle. You probably know about it. Now, this should have that driver software in the Libra driver package on the AUR. However, if you ever try and use that, it's I found personally, it's basically broken on the AUR. This was some time ago. It's basically broken. So what I do is I have the source code, and then I go into the source code, and basically I just pick out the driver I want, which is this, and then I compile it through GCC and all this kind of stuff. And so this is run off of the source file, source code, which is then compiled manually. Now, obviously, I've done that, you know, when I've needed to update it or whatever. But so that's an exception. Just, you know, my hand is forced there. Otherwise, I would have probably just, if it had worked, I'd have had the Libre Linux firmware and just run that, you know, including all the stuff it comes with that I don't use. But in this case, this is compiled firmware. So there you go. Gentoo package manager, sort of like FreeBSD ports tree, except ports does per package compilation flags instead of system-wide Gentoo by default. Well, I've gone out of focus. 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 Okay, that's really annoying. Oh, there we go. I'm in focus again. So I should probably just get into configuring OpenBSD now. So like I said to those of you who were in earlier, and if you saw the end of the stream yesterday, I'm going to set up Xeno, well, it's basically setting up Xorg. Let's just call it that. Let's just, or the X server. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. So there we go. We are sharing the screen now. Right. So I'm going to need to log in. So I'm going to log in as root, I think. Can't remember my password for a minute. All right. So let's go to the documentation. So the X window system. So this is the same really as Linux, but they obviously do certain things. Okay. And OpenBSD ships with all these window managers. The other packages are available. Runs. So I don't like reading this stuff out, but I'll read it out. Okay, so the X window system is the environment which provides graphical services to OpenBSD and other Unix-like systems. By itself, X provides very little, since one also must have a window manager to present a user interface. Okay. Not worried about that. Okay, configuration. For the majority of hardware, X requires no configuration at all. Starting X. So this is where XenoDM comes in. So Xeno or XenoDM is a recommended way to run X. So display manager offers some important security benefits over the traditional start X command. If XenoDM wasn't enabled during installation, it could be done so later like any other system daemon. On some platforms, you'll need to disable the console to use it. Okay. So there's some customization. So let's see if it's actually running. I'm just going to have a look at chat, see what's happening. Not a lot. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's do XenoDM. Let's see what happens. Ooh. There we go. So there's XenODM, okay? That's what it looks like. Now, where I said in a previous video, my kind of issue with this is it's good for security, but when I start up X, I just want to go into X. I don't want to have to log in again. Now, I know there's ways around this and there's certain ways you can do things. It's just not for me. OpenBSD, this is what they suggest. So I'm going to go in as root, put in my password, and are in Xterm, the terminal on, I can't even remember what this is called. I think this is FVWM. Is this FVWM? Virtual Window Manager. FVWM is the window manager for X11. Okay. Derivative of TWM, Tom's window manager. Now, obviously, I'm going to not use this, basically. I'm not going to use this. But let's look at like doing some customization. Then I'm probably going to install like i3 or something. Maybe I should do DWM, but no, I'm not going to. You know my feelings on that. So customization, OpenBSD's default X environment is fully functional, but you may wish to customize it. When the next session is started, shell scripts in a user's home directory can be used to start as many programs as desired. Most of the programs in these scripts should run in the background, but the last one, typically the window manager, should run in the foreground. When the window manager exits, the script will also exit, and X will return to the XenODM. After the user logs, okay, the etc X11 XenODM X session script checks whether there's a home X session script. User X session script will contain only one line specifying the preferred window manager launch. It can contain any number of commands, however. So export. Okay, so we're setting our environment to home.kshrc. So instead of like bash rc, xset root, solid gray, and xterm background black, foreground white, plus SB and then CWM. Okay, let's try that. Let's see what happens. Now, I'm not necessarily again I'm not interested in CWM, but let's have a look. So of course I'm in root. I'm not in my user. So cd root. So there's an X session in root. X session errors. Okay. Now the problem is I haven't set up do as. So if problem is if I log in, let's do pkill XenODM. Okay. So if I exit and I go open, what do I call open test is my login? Root. No, what am I talking about? If I do XenODM, is this going to work? Only root wants to run XenODM. Okay. What the hell? I'm going to set it up. I'm going to do this in reverse. Now, I know it's probably not good practice, but hey, it's a learning experience. I'm going to set up root XenODM because I haven't set up do as. We're going to do that in another video. It's probably not a good way to do about it, but hey, whatever. So let's come out of that. Let's go back into root. Now I could go into SU, but I think I'm going to have the same problem. Let's try, actually, let's try open test, see how we go. Do SU, OpenBSD test. Oh, I basically just logged in as root. am I doing? ZenODM, OpenDM, what is that? Okay, let's see how this goes. Open test. PWD, home, open test. Okay, so it's recognizing my home is there. Let's try it that way. It's my compromise. See what chat's saying. Zlatlan Omarovic, anyone experienced or using OpenBSD as a daily driver for a standard web dev of today? I use Docker, various tools like Postman, JetBrains tools. I'd like to switch to OpenBSD. I've seen criticism that Xorg and Wayland aren't really free or open in spirit. I came across something called Xlibra, which claims to be free alternative. What's your take on it? Is it better? Okay, so I don't know if you're asking me. Well, let's put this in perspective with Xorg, okay? So Xorg is basically being deprecated, right? So the people who control it, free desktop, Red Hat, don't want to develop it, don't want to maintain it. They want Wayland to replace it. Wayland is in the distros now, okay? Now, obviously, there's been this controversy over Xorg or X11, where the only real developer in it got kicked out of the project, or he wanted version control. So Xorg wasn't getting any new versions, and he wanted to create new versions. He wanted a proper release schedule. He was going to maintain it all. He wanted new releases. Free Desktop and Red Hat basically didn't want that. So he forked the project on Free Desktop on their servers. He upset them, so they banned his project, banned him from Free Desktop. So now it's on whatever it's called. It's on GitHub. Now, if you watch Brody's video, this sort of covers that, Brody Robertson. But the problem with Xlibra is going to be it's not in the package manager repos. You're not going to find it in your package manager, except for maybe like the AUR. That's my impression. Correct me if I'm wrong. It is in the AUR. Now, I don't know how good it is or reliable, unreliable. Maybe I should test it out. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a stream where I test out the Xlibra. Is that a good idea? Yeah, I'm going to test it out. Maybe I'll do that in the next stream. Yeah, Xlibra is in the Arctic's testing repo. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Do you use GitLab or GitHub? Yeah, I use GitHub. Not really a fan of it, but if you go on my website, you can see my repository. Okay, so I'm going to go back to configuring X session. Okay, so I want export env equals home. Oh, I don't have Vim installed, do I? Got to update my packages. Let's update the packages. Oh. If I can get out of here. Can't remember the commands. Let's open this. Ooh. Package management. I want to do pkg. Is it add u to update? Pkg add u. Okay. Always update your packages, guys. I think it's updating. How can I make this bigger? Is that bigger? Whatever. I don't know what happened there, but I'm guessing that's updated. And then was it, do you just do pkg add vim? Okay, yeah. What do I want? Choose package for vim, none. What happens if I do 0? Well, obviously I want a package, I just don't want whatever these are. So what do I want? I don't want GTK, no X11. Okay, 6. I just want vim. I don't want wrappers or whatever. Let's try that. Okay, I don't like the look of this window manager. I'm gonna come out of this and do it in a TTY. Right, let's do pkill zenodm. Right. Okay, let's go vim X session errors. What is so do I need to create X session in open test? Okay. Looks like I need to create home.xsession. Okay, let's see how this goes. I think it's all lowercase, isn't it? Hopefully this is going to be right. So let's do export env equals home, like this, dot ksch, I don't even know, conch shell or whatever it's called. KSHRC, oh yeah, it's like bash RC, KSHRC. KSHRC. Okay. I think that looks right. No, it doesn't. What am I doing? Slash dot. This is the directory dot KSH. Okay. What do I want next? So exit root solid gray, like that. And then we want and because it's running in the background. Okay. Oh no, don't want it like that. Solid gray, and I think that's right. And then we want xterm. We want xterm background black, foreground white. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Plus SB, I don't know what that is. I don't know, see what happens. And anybody know what plus SB is? And let's see what happens. Let's run CWM. Am I going to regret this? I don't know. Right, quit that. Let's do zenodm. Okay, let's log in as open test. Oh, well, it's a bit better. I don't know what the super key does. How do I open a new terminal? How do I even move this? So weird. Okay, I can't do that. I'm going to pkill that. Pkill zenodm. Needs to be SU, don't I? Pkill zenodm. Pkill zenodm. Okay. Let's have a look at chat, see what you're saying. Did you use OpenSUSE in your career? Nope. No, I never used Linux in my career, to be honest. Always been Windows in my work life, if that makes sense. Iron Fist, hello, Iron Fist. Mateus, what are your thoughts on declarative program for system configuration like Ansible or Nix? Okay, so I don't know about Ansible really, but with Nix, I don't want to have to learn a programming language to do a configuration file, if that makes sense. Because Nix is its own language, right? I mean, I'm sure if I did learn it, it would be amazing. Everybody says Nix OS is amazing. I'm just not going to do that. Maybe I will. It's silly when I say these things like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this. Maybe I will. But at the moment, I'm just not feeling it. So who knows? One day I might do a Nix OS install. We can play around with it and whatever. Oh, scroll bar. Yes. Don't know. Is it plus scroll bar? This indicates scroll bar should not be displayed. Okay. Yeah. So you know what? I like that. I do not like the scroll bar. So if it's not being displayed, that's good. That doesn't mean I don't want to scroll up using key bindings like shift, page up, or whatever key binding. Install DWM. No, I'm not going to install DWM because, like I said, DWM should be compiled right, and I'm not going to compile in a binary distro. It just feels wrong to me. DWM suckless is great, but I'm not going to do it. Maybe I will like play around with it in a stream, see how it works on OpenBSD, but I know I'm kind of boring with this, with just doing i3 all the time, but that's what I use. And so it doesn't mean I won't play around. Maybe I will in another stream, but I am going to just install i3 and see what happens. So let's have a look. So what do I want to do? I want to do pkg add -u. I am in SU. Okay, let's do pkg add i3. Is it just under i3? I don't know. Okay, that looks good. Sometimes it's like i3wm or i3-wm. Wayland. Where's Wayland come from? Whoa, what does that mean? Surely if it's Wayland, it'd be Sway, wouldn't it? Is that the same Wayland? I don't understand that. Don't understand at all. D menu, terminus font. So I need to change, I'm going to change CWM to i3. Okay. Copy the provided user local share examples. Okay. So I presume copy is the same. It's interesting to copy to i3status.conf. So you don't have like a folder. You have home / really? Different on OpenBSD then. This is the thing. OpenBSD obviously does things a certain way. Okay, so I presume that there is one in there then. So I haven't got do as, so let's do, presume I can do man cp. Okay, cool. I've forgotten what, oh yeah, I can page shift up. Love the buffer. Linus Torvalds' biggest mistake was removing the buffer, and he did that for security. But OpenBSD have kept the buffer in their TTY. Okay, so I want user local share examples, i3 status. Before running i3 status, things I don't care about i3 status because I don't want a status bar, so maybe I'm not going to do that. Let's just change this to i3. Shouldn't it be exec i3? I feel it should be like exec i3. Again, this is the way they do it, I guess. Right. Let's do XenODM. Let's do open test. Put my password. Enter. Oh, I probably want all because virtual machine stuff. Okay, why have I got X console? Just why have I got that? What is going on? Why have I got one? Why is it spawning screens that are okay? Seriously need to do some configuration here. I don't even understand what's going on here. So where is the configuration file? Does it set one up automatically? Oh. Doesn't scroll down for some reason. Okay, so I've got my i3 config. Let's make this bigger. Pango. I want mono really, mono space. Let's do 14. XDG auto start or whatever. Network manager, Linux. Can't talk about Linux on OpenBSD. What's that all about? Floating windows, whatever. Start terminal. Start terminal. Yeah. Oh, I see. I see. It's start. The config has it starting. Its own i3 terminal. I want xterm. I don't want D menu. I know that's controversial, but I don't need D menu. We'll leave all that. That's fine. Whatever. Resize the window. I don't want a status bar. Well, I can't even see the status bar because I guess it did say you had to do something with the config. Anyway, let's try that. Let's right quit that. I can't remember what the reload is. I always just p-kill this stuff. p-kill XenODM. Okay, let's see what happens now. XenODM. Test. Whoa. Okay. I don't understand that. Still not great. Why is it done it like that? Whatever. Anyway, we got i3 now. It's not perfect. Well, it's certainly not perfect. But that's fine. I'm just going to leave it like that now. We got XenoDM running. We got i3 running. It's certainly not great, but I presume it's the same sort of setup with Linux configuration-wise. I mean, it even mentions Linux. So they've just literally packaged i3 from Linux to OpenBSD from the look of it. So maybe I'll look at the configuration I do for Linux or whatever. I know it's controversial, whatever. Let's do this. Yeah, so I'm just going to leave it there today. I'm just going to do this in little stages, just play around the quirks with OpenBSD. So I'm just going to kill this now. Kill this. So power off. Remember, got to do the OpenBSD way. Power off -P now. Power off not found. Shut down -P now. That's what we want. Okay, has arrived. Syncing disks. Yep. Nice. There we go. Slowly but surely. This is not a race. So let's have a look at some of the comments. Cairo and Pango are part of GTK, right? So maybe GTK pulls in Wayland, not sure. Yeah, you're right. I think so. Thing is, I'm so anti-graphical user interface. I try and ignore all this stuff because it just like makes me, I don't know. You know, I'm about the TTY. But yeah, I think you're right. Or a library anyway. Yeah, I think so. This is the crazy thing. I must admit, like, if you've ever installed a program that uses, was it like Plasma 5 or Plasma 6 or whatever it is, you know, KDE stuff, those package sizes are just, they annoys me every time I do an update on Linux. Every time I do an update and those packages are like bigger than the kernel, it just annoys me. And the worst ones are when you've got like it's updating Plasma 5 and Plasma 6, all these like icon packs, and yeah, it's not for me. GTK does pull in Wayland, and Linus also removed a rollback because no one maintained it and the code had loops nested 6 layers deep. Had 4 loops nested 6 layers deep. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I remember I did a video. Don't know if you remember, I did a video on it, and where I put scroll back in. I didn't really, but okay. It's just a shame that nobody is maintaining it. Maybe I should maintain it, although I'm not a developer, obviously. But who knows? Maybe I should maintain. I always felt actually I don't take enough responsibility for certain things, but I'm not a developer, so I'd need to get up to speed. Well, I'm certainly not a Linux kernel developer. That's a whole new. That's certainly probably going to be a whole can of worms. But hey, maybe it would be fun looking at doing something about that. I don't know. Seems unlikely. Need a proper developer on that. So you switched to OpenBSD? No, I haven't switched to OpenBSD. I'm future-proofing my computer or not future-proof. So I've sort of covered this before. A lot of stuff I'm trying to do is future-proofing and give people an example of having a setup on a certain system. So obviously I've done the Arch one. Now I know lots of people have done the Arch setups, and I've done it my way. I've done it with the TTY focus heavily as your desktop environment, which you maybe don't see other people do so much. So this again is more about if I ever needed to, for whatever reason, say like we've had like the ex Libra situation, say something catastrophic happens in the kernel, maybe Rust destroys the kernel or something, or all the maintainers quit and abandon the Linux kernel and nobody knows, there's no new people to come in. I know this is like hypothetical. Maybe we all have to rely on something like OpenBSD. Well, now I've got an OpenBSD example set up and I can just set it up, or I've got a computer with it set up and I can just carry on doing my work. Plus, it's like a learning experience. And I did mention that a LibreBoot developer, their preferred operating system was OpenBSD with LibreBoot, because of the code base is like neater, tidier. Obviously, Linux is all about supporting everything, and OpenBSD do things in a security essence way. And BSDs do certain things where that they effectively break down all your main folders into their own partitions for security, and certain partitions don't touch the internet, like var and all this kind of stuff. OpenBSD sort of explain this on their web page. So, and obviously they make a big claim about they don't have any security issues. They've only had like 2 security issues in the last so many years or something like that. So it's good to have this as a learning experience and sort of in your back pocket. But I'm also an advocate of like disruption. I don't want a load of disruption. If I had to say move from Linux to OpenBSD, I'd have a setup almost identical. Maybe that doesn't make the most exciting videos. I don't know. I will play around with other window managers maybe, but I think that's my sort of aim. And of course, there's going to be different quirks, as you've seen already, between this and Linux that you've got to deal with. I don't know how it will literally go, but we'll see how it goes. So no, in short, I've not switched, but I am exploring OpenBSD to kind of have a similar setup as the one I've got on Linux if I ever need it. Nice. Why do you type out exit instead of using Control D? Good point. It's just habit. That's all it is. It's just a habit. I've always typed exit. I'm not a big fan of key combinations, so like trying to get down to Control and whatever. I'd rather just literally type it out because I touch type. I just feel it's easier and quicker, but hey. I'm actually a big proponent of keys on the home row for almost everything. So when I script things out, I try and I'm kind of a big proponent of that. Don't always implement it. It doesn't always work out that way. Neil Kill, awesome work. Thank you very much. Iron Fist, have you worked with C? I've technically worked with C, but just playing around. I've never built anything with C. Just playing around with different elements of C. I've never built anything, so no, I'm certainly not a developer. Maybe I will. Maybe I should build some stuff. I built something with like Python years ago, and HTML and CSS. I know it's completely different, and obviously Shell and Bash is my bread and butter really. But I haven't really built anything with C. I would like to. Here's the problem I always find with these things is if I don't need to build anything, I probably won't, if that makes sense. So I want to learn, I want to build something with C, let's say, but I'm not going to build something I don't need. So I'm going to wrap this up in a minute, guys. So if you've got any last questions, Linux or OpenBSD, I'll probably do another stream tomorrow. And what I'm going to try and do tomorrow is just fix the horrible looking i3 setup, horrible looking Xterm setup. See what happens. And we'll see where we go from there. Again, there's no like real rush. Maybe I'll look at, maybe I'll look at, I'll tell you what I might do. I'm going to look up other similar window managers. So maybe I won't bother setting up i3. I'll look at other window managers similar to i3, but not DWM. Again, I'm not really interested in compiling on OpenBSD. I want what's in the binaries. Now, if OpenBSD doesn't really have any nice I don't know, window managers that I like, obviously, you know, a lot of these need, I don't want to like have to do crazy amounts of customization. I don't know. Maybe I'll look at a different terminal. Maybe we won't stick with Xterm. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there then. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll probably see you tomorrow. There you go. I hope we learned a little bit there. Maybe not much, but nice little bit of OpenBSD there. Maybe who knows, maybe I'll break it up in the next video. Maybe I'll go back to doing some Linux stuff. Iron Fist, thanks. Thank you. Anyway, see you later, guys.